Stream is posting. Oh, okay, so it has /live at the end of it. Whatever. I'll take it though. Edit post, awesome. Yep. Okay. Ready? Yeah, I found that picture from Reddit somewhere. Okay, so welcome to another week of craziness and acid causing the walls to close in. Or melt, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, there was an RSS pics or something, and I just had to save it. Yeah. So hopefully the audio is going to be a lot better this week. I figured out the one problem that I had. It was trying to record audio from multiple sources at once, and was not good. So, yeah. And zero production crew, so you get what you get. So shall we jump right into it then? Did the intro music play? Actually, can you load up your audio and see if you can hear yourself? You're not hearing anything. No. That's what I thought. So how did I break your audio? I fixed mine, but I broke yours. Yay, the fun of doing things live.
Still live. I could technically just, like write stuff down on a little piece of paper and hold it up. Hey.
There you go. Real-time closed captioning because we can't fucking figure out. So now if I set it back to default, I see your mixer volume going up when you talk. Let's see if the intro music does anything.
I hear it now.
So
welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, now that you can hear both of us, yay! We'll just start it here. There we
go. Yeah. This is as good a part as any to start.
Yeah. So what was this little creature, by the way? You said
it's. I'm pretty sure it's a bush baby. It looks like a bush baby.
Bush
I only know that because Jerica finds all kinds of little animals like that absolutely adorable, even though it looks like it's tripping on acid.
And he certainly does look like he's tripping on acid.
Yeah. So, did you want to start in with that article that I sent, or the first article that I sent, or did you want me to start in?
I'll let you start into him. I just need to make sure I scroll back up on all of them.
Yeah, so I figured we'd start out with the Linux one.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlie made kind of a I'm trying to think of... Yeah, the English language has just failed me. Yeah, prediction, that's the word I'm looking for. The English language has just failed me for the past couple weeks. I've been way too scatterbrained. Yeah. So much stuff going on. So Charlie made a prediction last week when we had this that because of some of the things that Microsoft has been doing with getting really close with Canonical, that eventually they may actually transition to utilizing more of like essentially the Linux kernel or something of that nature. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I know it was something along those lines.
Basically, that Microsoft's not going to make Windows per se, but instead Windows is just going to be another Linux distro running on the standard POSIX system that we're used to.
Yep.
With the Windows skin on top.
Yep, which we are actually getting, sounds like one step closer to this. Because Bleeping Computer ran an article that the Linux subsystem, so if you're not familiar, you can actually install Linux or Ubuntu specifically, as well as a wide variety of variations of Ubuntu, directly onto Windows 10 now. And the subsystem files are usually not accessible through Windows Explorer or your standard file browsing. That's not going to be the case anymore for future Windows 10 releases. They're actually going to be allowing this.
Yeah, so the article name was Linux Subsystem Files Accessible via Explorer.
Yep. So it looks like, in Windows 10, it really needs to pick a damn standard and stick with it because they just released Windows 10 20H1. So evidently they're going to start like naming them after, I don't know, flu variations now, H1, N1, I don't freaking know. Because they used to at least follow Canonical's pattern of, 1703, or no, it was like 1703, 1709, and then 1603 and 1609. They changed like the month and whatnot. But they were basically following the same pattern of twice a year, like roughly 6 months apart, releasing the Windows 10 versions.
So out of curiosity, did they publish releases in March and October?
So I'm trying to remember because they started it, I think, in 16. And it was 1603. No, they were doing it basically like a month ahead. So it was like March and September.
Oh, okay.
Because I think they started in 2015, but they like changed months. is I want to say 1507. And then they did like 1603 and then 1609. I know right now it's 1803 and 1809, and then now this new 20H1. So I don't know why they're changing it again.
Yeah, what does H even stand for? Hector? It's the first Hector of the plot.
But anyway, evidently, since they've just released this new whatever, they have new features that allow access to the Windows subsystem for Linux file system using Windows Explorer. So you don't have to actually like launch. I've never actually installed Linux in Windows 10 to see what it's like, but I'm assuming basically you would have to launch the like Linux file browser to actually access your files in the Linux subsystem. Now you can do it directly from Explorer. So you just open it up same way you'd browse to your documents, pictures, or whatever, and then bam.
Last time I was using it, it would give you a shell. So you would launch Ubuntu, and it would just open Command Shell, but it was a Bash shell instead.
Okay.
It was very similar to Git Bash on Windows.
Okay. Yep. And I've used Git Bash pretty regularly.
It was basically the exact same thing. Primarily because it literally was the same fucking thing. It was CYGWin or CYG whatever that's named.
Sigwin. Yeah, I used to use Sigwin back in the day too to allow SSH tunnels between Windows machines.
Yeah. So it was basically Sigwin in a terminal.
Okay.
But that was it.
Yeah, now it seems like you can actually file browse and everything through it. So I think you might be spot on with your prediction there. I would not be surprised if that is the direction Microsoft continues to go.
So it looks like WSL, which is their header. Windows subsystem for Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Designed to run Linux binaries in L format, which is their default Linux format.
It looks like you have to actually launch it from the Linux subsystem to get Explorer to work that way.
So that's interesting. That
It looks like it's an administrative share. Because if you look at that screenshot, once it shows that you pop open the actual subsystem and then type in explorer.exe, if you look at what opens, it's that WSL $. So that's the like hidden administrative share. That's what the $sign usually means in a share of Windows.
Oh, right. Yeah, like $.
Because if you're browsing to other systems on the local one and you have administrative access, you can do C:/$ or whatever the hell the combination is off. Then it's easier to type than it is to say. But it'll actually bring up the C drive on a remote system so you can browse it that way if you have administrative privileges and have that enabled.
Right.
And the same thing with other hidden shares. They usually have that $sign. So it looks like it's actually just kind of a hidden share on that system.
So I wonder if you can open that just from the regular browser, or regular Explorer.
I would think you probably could, if you know the path.
Well, it would be WSL $.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it to where you can launch it this way, but I would think, yeah. It's also interesting that it's mapping from network.
Yeah. It can also be used via the command line by going to, //WSL $.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so basically the same thing. So yeah, it's treating it as a network share. That's actually kind of cool. Definitely seems like you're spot on with your prediction, though. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more integrations like this later on this year and in the coming years.
Yeah, it'll just be really interesting to see if or when they start porting the Win32 libraries over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the telltale sign. Like, oh, Win32 is now native ELF format. That's peculiar.
Or if you type in CMD and it basically brings up more of a shell prompt rather than the traditional DOS prompt.
I would be completely okay if they replaced their DOS emulator with Bash.
God, so would I. Yeah. There is only like 2 things I use that for: ipconfig and ping. Everything else I use PowerShell if I have to actually do something, because it's a lot more user friendly, or functional, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
It's more functional, but it's a C sharp shell, and not really a shell.
Well, but you can still do a lot more. You can do all the things you can do pretty much in like their DOS emulator.
We're right. But the DOS emulator just runs commands. So ipconfig is a command and traceroute's a command. So you could run those from any shell.
Yeah, and you can run them from PowerShell, but PowerShell takes like a second or so to load up.
Right.
Whereas command is instant.
Right. But in command, you can't type ls.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you can in PowerShell.
Yes, you can. Yeah, every time I find myself doing that, I'll open command, do ls. Oh, fuck. Wrong one. Close that. Open PowerShell.
Yep.
Yeah. Because typing in dir just makes no sense if I want to list a file. Like, it's list, for fuck's sake. Not dir.
Yep.
Although it's only a matter of time before SL is implemented as well.
SL?
Yes. Are you not familiar with that program?
Evidently not.
Okay, let me find which terminal that's running to. Make you a little smaller.
SL not found. Can be installed with sudo apt install SL.
Yeah. Okay, SL. No.
You still use apt-get?
Yeah.
I've converted over to just using apt now.
Yeah, same difference. Okay. So you type ls, you get your regular thing. You type SL.
That's... We're not going to install that.
Yes, it is a display animation aimed to correct users who accidentally enter SL instead of LS.
That reminds me of the get dad meme. Let me see if I can...
Oh, there are more ones too. Hey, I want to do this. Man SL. Flip again. SL Tech A. Help. Oh, it just says help. Okay. Now how about Tech L? Just a little bit smaller. Tech F.
There's something else you can show for like correcting people who do things. This is actually one I occasionally implement on systems that I find hysterical. I just sent it over via Discord. Oh, look at that. It goes up.
It flies. Yeah, I like the fly one.
Yeah.
Ooh, can you combine them? Yes, you can. Maybe we should have a whole thing of just
nonsense like that.
Bash Easter eggs, yeah.
Not necessarily a bash Easter egg, but the one I sent you on Discord from Reddit is pretty good.
Get dad.
Speaking of mistyping things.
Why'd you open over here? go over here. Way too many things open.
Yeah, I've started trying to balance things across workspaces again because I have too much crap open all the time.
Okay, so I occasionally fat finger git add as git dad. So he fixed it. Icon has dad joke.
It works. It's hilarious. As a fan of dad jokes, I find this hysterical.
That reminds me of the fuck command.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that
something. You type fuck and it autocorrects what you tried to correct. Or what you tried to type.
Yep.
Yeah. What was that other?
What are you up to now?
Trying to remember some of the other ones.
So moving on to some of the other things that we had to discuss while Charlie's trying to remember some other Easter eggs that are built in. Uh-oh, here comes another one. I have to move. So a lot of the times big companies do things that we might somewhat think are shady practices. Sometimes they might be more shadier than others.
Does it just keep... Oh, okay. It just does random. Okay. Is there another one? Apt cow? Nope. Not. There's another apt cow, and I forgot what it was. This cow has superpowers. Yeah, okay, there's a whole page of Easter eggs available, but yeah.
Maybe that's something else you can share with the episode notes, or I'll link to some of these Easter eggs out there if people want to use them.
Yeah.
But back to the shady business practices.
Oh, of Easter eggs that are hidden, you mean?
No, those aren't shady. Those are just funny. So Google has their little magical assistant that's just, like Siri or Alexa. So they also have the Nest platform for like physical security, such as doorbells. I'm not sure what else they have. I'm sure motion sensors, all kinds of stuff. Their alarms, their keypads.
It also has temperature control, stuff like that.
Okay. Yep. Probably same thing with like power management, home automation, that kind of thing.
Probably, yeah.
So evidently they had planned on, having the capability of integrating this stuff with their assistant eventually. But those of you who have ever used one of the, virtual assistants is familiar with the fact that you need to be able to talk to them, because the idea is you don't have to touch a keyboard or something of that nature to get them to respond. You just say, okay, Google, or Alexa, order 2 tons of creamed corn, or something of that nature. Well, since they planned on integrating this in there, they had also actually placed microphones in these devices that were not part of the release notes or documentation for them. So these devices all had essentially recording and audio spying capability that the customers were not notified about, which is concerning because, these could be used, or if they were compromised, to spy on people. So I don't know how exactly this came about being discovered, but it's definitely not been well received.
Oh, it's actually from the Nest page themselves.
The
nest.com/alarm system specs. So that whole little bundle, it looks like.
It looks like there's Windows security guard.
Features. Talks in a friendly voice. Keypad. Not seeing any input information, though.
Yep, and that was the concern because it wasn't documented there. Obviously, it has speakers and stuff, but it doesn't have anything that says that there's a built-in microphone. And now it's been discovered, and people are a little concerned about it. Like, why didn't you disclose this as part of the specs?
Yeah.
So, was it an honest mistake, or was it shady business practices, or who knows?
Well, if I had to guess, I would have to say an engineer or a business decision had put it in as an idea to add it as a future feature, and that way if anybody who bought it in the past would be able to get this upgrade free of charge because it's already built in. It's literally built into the device.
Yep, it's a capability that's not activated.
Yeah. But yeah, they definitely should have disclosed what it can do, like what it has the capability of doing. And yeah. Had secret microphones that they hid from consumers.
Yeah, and one of the really big concerns probably that people are having with this, and it's the same reason that I don't have one of the like smart assistant type devices, because I'm still not over the fact of the constantly listening aspect. And while they say that they're not constantly listening and recording, there's a couple concerns with that. And this kind of goes more so to the Alexa realm, just because I think it gets more publicity than any of the other systems. But yeah, exactly. the 2 tons of creamed corn. Because the reason these devices, we know for a fact these devices are always somewhat listening, is because they're listening to respond to a certain command. They're listening for the Alexa, do this. They're listening for the OK Google, or they're listening for Siri, and they respond in turn. But there have already been instances where the recordings from an Alexa were used in a murder trial, where someone had a Alexa, whatever the devices are called, Echo, in their home, and they were murdered, and Alexa recorded the whole thing. And Amazon was able to be subpoenaed for that information. Now, I highly doubt the person showed up and went, Alexa, I'm going to kill this guy. So it probably didn't go down like that, which means that it was recording the whole time.
Right.
Which means, while there's the whole privacy concerns itself, there's also the thing from these devices are used in like businesses, so there may be confidential discussions and stuff that are heard that maybe executives have these in their offices, so it may provide information that could be used for insider trading or that kind of stuff. So there's a big concern from these devices constantly recording and being like uploaded to a server or something, to where who knows who's actually having access to that. And I remember, I think maybe about a year or so ago, Amazon was actually talking about granting access to developers for Echo applications to the raw recordings of these devices, which is a concern because, anybody could be developing on these devices and they could have malicious intent. And getting access to these recordings, I'm sure it's not all that difficult to become a developer.
Right.
And get that privilege.
Yeah. And what they do need to do is the customer does need to add the application or whatever on the device. So if you've listened to the radio station to say all you have to do is Alexa add 98.9 The Bear to whatever it's called. By doing that, you're granting the developer access to your data and to your device to do whatever they want.
I didn't even realize that because I've not messed with any of them. So
yeah, I've looked into the developer and how to get set up on that, and the process is really straightforward. I believe you just check a box that says, I'm not going to be an asshole about it. But that's about,
oh, man, checking that box.
Yeah. That's
the epitome of integrity testing.
Yeah. But yeah, the amount of data that you can get from that is pretty cool, but at the same time very scary if you're a consumer who has these in your house.
Yep.
Because now this, media company or radio station can now listen in on you. Isn't that great?
Yep. And anything you say can be used against you.
Yeah.
Maybe not even necessarily in a court of law.
Yeah. It'll just show, it'll go to the radio station, and now they can see what other radio stations you've been cheating on them against or with.
Which, ironically enough, I hear, depending on some of the assistants, if you ask them or respond with one of the other one's names, they get all huffy about it. Like, I think Siri, or maybe it's Cortana, one of the two, like those, between those two, if you say like Cortana to Siri, she'll be like, who's Cortana? So, yeah. But moving right along with some other kind of shady practices that probably shouldn't be in place. Microsoft Edge, which is kind of being sunsetted, but it's the replacement browser for Internet Explorer that Microsoft has decided to focus on, which is going to be running on Chromium eventually, but that's a whole other segue into something that we're not going to cover right now. But basically, there is a secret whitelist that was recently discovered that allows Facebook, as well as a bunch of other things, to actually auto-run Flash. So while a lot of browsers like Chrome and Firefox are trying to push people away from using Flash, Edge is just kind of like secretly allowing certain websites that evidently give them enough money to run it anyway.
So according to this, they've bypassed click-to-play.
Yeah, exactly.
So by default, I had to install Flash on Chrome in order to get VMware to work, which seemed silly.
Mm-hmm.
But so now anytime I go to VMware to manage a VM, it comes up with a prompt asking, hey, there's Flash trying to run. What the fuck do you want to do? And I have to go allow like 5 times because it redirects and silliness. But that's okay, because I really don't want it to run most of the time. The only time I do want it to run is when I specifically want to do just this one operation that I have no other choice but to run Flash.
There is a website in this list that is www.dillydilly.wang.
Oh, wait, so there's more sites that...
Oh, yes, there's a bunch. And there's a .ru in here. The dillydilly.wang is not much further down.
And so these are all allowed to run Flash applications.
Yes.
Without user notification.
Correct.
It's Billy. Stupid videos.
Yep. Stop. The dillydilly.wang is at the top.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple .rus. Obviously Microsoft. Music.microsoft.com is one of them. Voodoo.com. Yeah, ontvtime.ru is in there. So there's all these domains that are just allowed to do this.
Wow.
And that's extremely concerning because Flash is notorious for its vulnerabilities, and you can't tell me none of those sites are ever going to have any vulnerabilities that are susceptible to like a cross-site scripting or something like that vulnerability that's built into Flash.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the fact that you can run applications published by any of these companies, or not even published, just hosted on these companies.
Yep.
And it's literally, it downloads a binary to your local system and runs it with your user permissions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a full application. It can do whatever they want to do.
Yep. Such as steal passwords or any other type of action on your device.
So these entries, they were encrypted?
It looks like they're just hashed, but I'm not sure how they came up with. Initially found the whitelist, and the SHA-256 hashes of 58 domains on Windows 10 version 1803, which he was able to decrypt and obtain the names of 56 sites.
Okay, so they were encrypted somehow. So they were trying to hide them.
Yep.
Microsoft wasn't even being nice about it and saying, "Oh, hey, these are these will run Flash. By the way, you might want to know." No, they were explicitly trying to hide that from the users.
Yep.
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see how they try and explain this, the logic behind why this was not revealed.
Yeah.
But evidently, it looks like the file is located in the C:\Windows System32 Edge HTML plugin policy.bin.
I see that. Yeah. Well, I'm surprised it's not hidden in a registry key somewhere, but
That's true.
yeah.
But that's kind of an interesting concept, because if they're not hiding things in the registry for configuration files, going back to what we were talking about earlier, and they're doing more of a flat file type thing, that's more Linux methodology.
That too, yeah.
So,
and they already have etc/whatever in that System32 directory.
Where the hosts files at.
Yeah. And they've had that since, forever.
Forever, yeah.
But yeah, this will all be fixed when they switch to Chrome.
Yes.
Yeah, Edge isn't even all that old, is it? It's what,
no,
a year?
No, it came with Windows 10. I don't even think it was available in Windows 8.
Probably not originally.
I'm sure you can install it now. I don't think you can for Windows 7, but I think it started coming standard in Windows 10, because they were deciding that they were tired of developing IE.
Yeah.
So.
And now it looks like they're tired of developing Edge.
Edge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this could be another kind of clue to me that they're stopping their development work.
Yep.
Because they've realized that, our engineers seem to be kind of shit at writing code, or they're just not allowed to due to company policy. So.
Or they found out that they can make money more effectively by other methods. Because there's so much free and open source software out that it doesn't necessarily make sense to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of developers or whatever for all these different pieces, when they can just, bring in open source code and then, have a few hundred developers build all the stuff they actually need. Yeah.
Right. But that is one of the, major reasons to use open source software is that you as a company, you don't have to spend 500 hours developing a custom solution. You can take current code that's already out there, customize it to fit your need, and there have been potentially hundreds or thousands of people who have looked through it before. So it's going to be, it has a higher chance of being half decent.
Yeah.
Because that's another problem, is if you have a company writing code just with the end goal of getting it pushed out the door as quickly as possible, you're probably not going to spend as much time to make sure that it's clean and doesn't have bugs in it, doesn't have vulnerabilities in it, because that's not the business motivation. The business motivation is just to push it out.
Yeah, there's it's like that triangle of I'm trying to remember what exactly. There's probably an actual business name for it, but your three things are speed, or doing something as fast as possible, doing it as high a quality as possible, and doing it as the cheapest possible. You can only pick two.
Yep.
So no matter what you do, you can either do it really fast and really cheap, or you can do it really fast, really secure, but it's going to cost you a fortune. But you can only have two of the three. You can never have all three.
And there are generally only two that businesses care about: speed and cost.
Yep.
That's it. Quality doesn't matter.
Yep.
And although now that I'm thinking about it, that's really nothing new.
No.
Like, if you look at a television, a TV from the 1960s probably still works today.
Yeah.
Like an old 60s RSA or RCA TV probably still works. But a TV you bought last year, it's probably breaking.
It's already having problems, yeah.
So
there's a reason that they say they don't make things like they used to.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when I worked at an ISP, there were still people, and this hasn't been that long ago, maybe 5 years ago, people that were still running WRT 54Gs as routers.
Right.
because they were one of the earlier model routers.
And for reference, the WTR54G was one of the first consumer available wireless devices that you could buy back in about 2005 or so.
Yep. So they're running, 10 or so years later flawlessly. And they've been running pretty much plugged into a wall ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that is concerning because they do have security vulnerabilities that have come out since then. But
how many people that actually patch the routers that aren't technically inclined?
Right. Well, even the problem with that is Netgate doesn't really support them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they have stopped being supported.
Yeah, so the only way to patch those would be to switch to an open source software for it, or open source firmware.
Yep. Such as OpenWRT or
DDWRT.
DDWRT or Tomato.
Tomato, that's the other one, yeah.
Yep. I had DDWRT running on it wasn't actually one of the Linksys WRT routers. It was actually an Asus that I bought that pretty much like when I bought it, I remember buying it off Newegg because I was looking for a good router to run it on.
Yeah.
And like all the comments, basically people bought that model Asus strictly for flashing DDWRT on it because everybody was like, it's like Asus knows this too because they said pretty much the GUI and like the software that came pre-stock on it was garbage because they knew you were just going to flash it anyway.
Well, didn't they kind of like fix that with later models where they stopped making their own software anyways and just shipped OpenWRT on it?
They might have.
I think they did.
It's been a while since I've had a non-MikroTik home router, so
yeah,
that's kind of I'm just kind of stuck with enterprise grade stuff and haven't really went back to see what that realm has done in the meantime. And occasionally I've worked on like a Netgear or a Linksys more recently for other people, but it's not something that I've like experimented with all the features because it's something that I was playing with. Just, help them get their wireless network set up, change the password, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And this segment sponsored by Ubiquiti.
Yeah. And MikroTik.
Yeah. Yeah, the two play nicely together. Yeah.
So we hear a lot about fake news in the news lately. So what could possibly make that even better? A fake text generator that is actually so good at generating fake text that the creators don't want to release the full version.
Yes. Yes, they have banned the release of something they made because they made it too well. Which pre-segue? I don't know. From the previous model, they clearly did not solely focus on speed and cost, but instead they focused solely on quality, and they surpassed the quality mark so much that they realized, shit, it's too good.
This thing creates better articles than journalists.
Yeah.
I feel like Elon Musk's like new slogan should be Google's old one of "Don't be evil." When someone like Elon Musk is basically too scared for humanity to release the full version of a product,
I think he's a little past that by now. Because if you think about your stereotypical supervillain, so he has launched a car into space.
good point.
He makes flamethrowers.
True.
And he has robots driving his cars.
True.
I mean, all he needs now is a cat.
This is true.
But yeah, his newest, one of his newer creations was the OpenAI initiative, where he made a bot that, did it read Twitter for a month or something? It did something some silliness where it learned how people talk or how people write, I guess more appropriately, and then learned how to write and was able to write very convincing stories.
That just reminds me when what the hell is IBM's AI?
Deep Blue.
No, it's other name.
Hudson or something.
Yeah, damn it, I'm like dying trying to figure this one out.
The thing that beat Jeopardy or whatever.
Yeah, I
Watson.
gotta find it. Yes, Watson.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of when they let Watson get access to read Urban Dictionary for like a period of time, and then it just started swearing at all the scientists. Because it learned so many vulgarities and stuff from Urban Dictionary that it was just using that in everyday conversation.
Yeah. Didn't Microsoft run into a similar problem where they made a chat bot and they let it listen to Twitter for a few days or a week or something?
They might have.
And it started generating neo-Nazi tweets.
It's very possible. I know, like, I think there's like a video recording or something somewhere of like two chatbots like just going on incessantly forever.
Wait.
But one of the funny things about this Open AI, it says this tool doesn't discriminate between topics. Instead, it uses over 40 gigabytes of text gathered from the internet to help it produce convincing sounding copy on anything from Miley Cyrus to astrophysics. Astrophysics. So that's quite a broad range of information.
So you talked about chatbots going fighting each other. What year is this? Like
2019?
Is this 2002? Because I remember having aim bots, and then I'd have two of them in the same chat room just fighting each other.
Yep.
So now it's the same thing, but instead of aim, we're on Twitter. But
Pretty much,
same
yeah.
fucking thing. Okay, yeah. For example, it takes the following phrase: a train carriage. Let me switch to full screen. Train carriage containing controlled nuclear material was stolen in Cincinnati today. Its whereabouts are unknown. Then it builds an entire story around that fictional event. Fabricates quotes from Tom Hicks. Okay. Oh, U.S. Energy of Secretary. Oh, come on. Do they have some examples?
OpenAI realizes this. It says,
these findings, combined with earlier results on synthetic imagery, audio, and video, imply that technologies are reducing the cost of generating fake content and waging disinformation campaigns. The public at large will need to become more skeptical of text they find online, just as the deep fakes phenomenon calls for more skepticism about images.
You know, and there's actually an ongoing joke between me and most people that know me that I have an XKCD comic for everything, and I actually have one just for this. Give me just a second to find it.
Which number is that?
You know the one I'm talking about?
No. That's why I'm asking which number.
Oh, which number? 810.
Oh, yeah? The title of Constructive. Spammers are breaking traditional CAPTCHAs with AI, so I've built a new system. It asks users to rate a slate of comments as constructive or not constructive. Then it has them reply with comments of their own, which are later rated by other users. But what will you do when spammers train their bots to make more automated, constructive, and helpful comments? Mission fucking accomplished.
I also just sent you something on Discord for when we finish everything up.
Oh. Oh, shit.
That can be our closing image for the day.
Oh, we have more pizza rolls. And more in the car. And more in the car. Shit. Have pizza rolls for days.
So yeah, now you no longer can just not trust images. You can't trust text either. Everything, pretty much soon, the Onion is just going to have to close down because they can't produce any original content of their own anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of saddened when the whole fake news thing was really new, I guess, because many of the Onion articles were better than those articles posted by legitimate news articles.
Yep.
And it was just a bad state of affairs.
Yep.
So now this will be the same thing. Elon Musk's chatbot program will make better news articles than Fox News.
No comment.
It might be less biased, too.
The last thing I really had was actually touching more so on the security topic, something we haven't really done much today, more so on the privacy side of things and just randomness, which is good every now and then to break away from all the chaos that happens in the security realm. But formjacking is not something that we've formally named on the show, really, but we have talked about a little bit in the past. So everybody's been talking a lot about ransomware and cryptojacking over the past year or so. Ransomware has been gaining a consistent popularity year after year since probably around 2015, 2016, with all the hospital attacks and other organizations, and we have WannaCry, NotPetya, like I talked about last week. So ransomware is pretty well known by everybody. Cryptojacking gained a lot of notoriety last year because it became more lucrative than ransomware, because basically you could hijack people's computers through the browser and use their CPU cycles to mine cryptocurrency for you, which somehow was even more efficient than just infecting them with ransomware and getting them to pay. And you're guaranteed to actually get the usage out of that and actually get some money out of it, because you're just using their CPU cycles, and unless they're aware of it or blocking those scripts, they don't even know. So you're actually getting something out of them regardless. But formjacking, we started talking about towards the end with the MageCart incidents, which Newegg suffered and a variety of other places were impacted. But basically that's where that malicious script ends up on their site and essentially steals like credit card information and all that kind of stuff. And basically it looks like there was a little bit of a spike in it in May and June, but then more so towards the end in November, December. And obviously the reason for the November, December's time frame was Christmas and other gift-giving holidays around the end of the year, because of Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. That was a perfect time for these types of attacks to be very effective, which goes down to making sure the supply chain of your code and everything is secured, and reasons you have to make sure that you use something as a consumer to block certain external scripts, to hopefully be able to prevent something like this from happening. If they're able to get that into the actual code base of the application, then obviously blocking external scripts doesn't really do anything.
Okay, so this is just showing the bottom of the article, talking about how cryptojacking and ransomware are down. It's kind of just what those are showing. Yeah,
because this has become a more profitable way. Because essentially, even while the idea of like malware authors and people infecting people with viruses and stuff in the past has always been, just that vengeful person or like anonymous or something like that that's just doing it for malicious purposes. But in reality, the big thing behind like these cryptojacking and ransomware campaigns has been like essentially like a criminal syndicate type scenario, where a lot of the times these are large underground organizations that are making money instead of like smuggling drugs or weapons and stuff, like some of the more visible versions of this kind of thing goes. It's basically underground and just infects websites and uses that to make their money. So it operates more like a business rather than just some vengeful individual or somebody that's making some sort of political statement or something of that nature. And if one method seems to be more lucrative than others, they're going to cut back on the others and how much they spend putting that effort in and focus on what tends to be the most lucrative at the time.
Yeah. So does this mean that we'll get to see a decline in bad emails?
Possibly. Depending on how well this gets mitigated in the future by companies that accept online payments, very possibly. If it makes more sense, I mean, you're always going to have those occasional ones, but
I'm just hoping to see less. I'm just hoping to see less. I have you sexy pick things. I don't even remember what they said.
Yes.
What?
I know that password 1 is one of your passwords.
What? Yeah. Why do you have 3 of those? Or
I have 5 rooms.
my housemate went shopping for weird things.
I'm afraid to even ask. You may have a separate webcast coming up immediately after this one of weird things my roommate bought. Oh no.
An at-home drug test.
98% accurate. I literally smoked an hour before, took it, I passed.
Just as a science experiment?
Yeah, so I bought 5, so they're all the same, so that's my control. I want to see how many times I can smoke weed, still take a test, an hour afterward, and pass. Because I strongly believe that drug tests do not work. As long as you eat...
Well, that's kind of probable that drug tests don't really work, especially the at-home ones.
I mean, I literally passed the military grade 1, and I smoked the day before.
Did he just use the phrase military grade in talking about a drug test?
Everything metabolizes so fast in my body, I don't think weed stays in my system, man. Like, I drink so much and pee so much that I don't think it has enough time to, like, filter through all my piss.
Well, it doesn't really stay in your body for a long period of time anyways.
Yeah, but I literally smoked an hour before.
Yeah. Oh, damn, I can't eat the Girl Scout cookies.
I'm not even going to ask. I don't want to know. So I guess to finish up, I don't know if you had anything else, Charlie.
Nope. I just, did you want to touch on any other article that you've located since we're under an hour still?
Let me look back through, see if there's anything that, yet another multi-stage malware, which isn't all that surprising. Born on the internet's dangerous. Kind of interesting, but not. The article's not really that interesting. Hackers have started trying to compromise banks as starting a point for phishing attacks. So obviously, if a bank is easy to compromise, which is horrifying, it looks like banks in Russia are particularly susceptible, and then they use that to spoof or send phishing emails from to gain access to other companies. That's kind of interesting, but the article is lackluster.
Yeah.
Trying to see if there's anything else. AI, basically, while it may be very good at generating text, is terrible at generating images of cats. It's quite horrifying, actually. Charlie, if you want to open that one up, that's probably a good one to end with, especially with our other little item for ending with. So AI is very good at creating text, not so good at drawing pictures of cats, which, considering like 60% of the internet is cats, I'm kind of surprised at that.
Well, so who made that program? Clearly it wasn't made by Musk.
Yes, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, on that note, I guess we're just about an hour, so that is a good time to wrap up. So, until next week, stay safe. Don't.
You gonna show the picture that I sent in Discord?
Maybe. Fucking bush babies.
So bush babies are a real thing if you didn't know. And Charlie's going to actually end with what a picture of one actually looks like. And they do kind of look like they're tripping on acid.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
If you just Google image search bush babies, it is hysterical. There are tons of them. They're cute, but they definitely look like they are, there's something in the eucalyptus they're eating.
Well, they look like they're from Australia, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, they're probably trying to kill you somehow.
They're probably venomous.
I don't know. Yeah, Because I don't know how they kill you, but I'm sure they have some way to.
Yep.
Like death stare you or something. I don't know. Maybe
They can see into your soul.
lasers in their eyes. All right. Well, until next week, stay safe. Don't click on weird Russian sex bot things, and
Don't trust everything you read on the internet.
yes. And if you find one of these in your backyard, you either live on Australia or you need to run very quickly. So.
Or stop eating the Girl Scout cookies.
Or stop eating those girls. Yeah.
Till next time, everybody. Absolutely, it works.